How often do we talk about the traumatic things that we've been through? And an even better question, who do we have to talk about the traumatic events we've been through? Mike Glover is about to cover that in this clip right now. This is episode 1931 with Mike Glover of the Joe Rogan Experience. I'm Coach Colin, coolest high-performance coach in the world, and if you want the absolute best insights to the podcasts and videos you love, hit that subscribe button. This is a very, very powerful story that he's about to share. Let's get into it.
I just set up it's called Rewilding. I have a rewilding course, and it's a 72-hour course where we create scarcity. And, I have people show up, and through this experience training, they lose their shoes. They actually have to ground themselves to earth. We have fireside chats, like we actually talk to each other interpersonally in front of each other. We tell our vulnerabilities to each other, some woo-woo shit of just getting back to basics, like basic primal shit. I have an interesting analogy on this topic, especially as it refers to like hunting and trauma. Native American culture, this is not mine. Tom Spooner of Warrior Heart taught me this, and they do this as a part of their tradition in helping veterans kind of unfuck their lives. I mean, most of these guys are addicted to something, and they need comprehensive inpatient care. One of the things Native Americans used to do when they came back from battle, a warrior would get in front of the tribe, fireside, and communicate the things that took place. And if this cup of water was an example of my capacity for trauma, then how much trauma can I hold before it spills? And what's the consequence of spilling? Is it mental health? Is it I'm not as good as a warrior as I could be? What happens? Well, in Native American culture, a warrior that comes back is sharing the burden. So everybody's got a cup, all the women, all the kids, the braves, and I'm pouring a little bit of that trauma into their cup. When Americans get back from war, when Americans get through trauma, how do they share that burden? They don't. They keep it in their fucking heads. And so they fall apart because they have nobody to share that burden with, which is one of the reasons why I think podcasts are so important. When you hold something in your head that you have no explanation for, your mind creates taxing and burden assumptions, opinions that are not healthy. When you talk out loud about it and you get perspective from another human being, you have a way to weigh this, but we also are sharing the burden. I mean, me and fucking Andy Stump talked on a podcast on Cleared Hot about killing kids in combat, where we actually had to take what we thought, I mean, it's hard to gauge the age, a younger man's life in the heat of combat that picked up an AK-47. I mean, me and Kevin Owens standing on a rooftop, he winds up shooting him while he's running towards a checkpoint. We gave him warning shots. We gave all these tactics to mitigate risk to his life. But at the end of the day, he punched the ticket. And it was either our guys at the checkpoint or we could live with that burden for the rest of our lives. And we did it. We had to do what we had to do. Now, if I had that in my head, how would that weigh on me? I fucking killed a kid, man. I fucked up. I fucking killed a kid. But the reality is I was propelled into war. And when me and Andy talked about it, it felt fucking good. Because I shared a little bit of that burden and he was able to relate because he had the same fucking story. The story he shared, he had never said out loud ever. It was always been in his head. After the podcast we talked about it, and he's like, dude, that helped. I don't know why, but talking about it helped. And that's the benefit, I think, of podcasts. It's the benefit of sharing this burden and trauma. And most certainly this and the virtuing of what we want to communicate because we want people to perceive us a certain way versus what lies in this cup and what needs to be talked about are two different things.
Yeah, for people just listening, you just picked up your phone to indicate social media. Yeah, I think what you're on to is dead right, and I think that's probably why the Native Americans did it. And it's probably when you're saying that it helped you and that it helped Andy, it's probably something we're all missing. We really don't have those kind of discussions anymore about the things that bother us. Everybody internalizes And the kind of communication you do on social media, you're right. It's like a virtue signaling, or it's bullshit. Like you read these verbose passages that people leave on their Instagram pictures, and it's always self-aggrandizing, and
Of course.
yeah, and it's the opposite. It has the opposite effect. It's not cathartic at all. It doesn't help you because there's no. I think we have to do that kind of shit one-on-one too. People have to be there with you. They have to feel it with you.
Yeah,
That is 100% right. I wanted to focus just on what Mike had to say because that was just so powerful. Everything from the whole cup analogy to what these Native American tribes would do to the story that he just shared, and that somebody so close to him, like, I mean, I regard Andy Stump as one of his friends, having that story in his head the whole time and never saying it out loud, even saying it to someone like Mike Glover, who could completely relate, not even just in the actual actions of possibly, you know, hurting a child, but just in general. He's been through combat. It's like he didn't even share it with the people who he knew had gone through combat situations. He shared it with no one. He just kept it in his head. And it's like, you know, how often do we do that as people? Like, again, that cup analogy is beautiful because we really do just kind of keep our cups. And like I said at the beginning of this, who do you go and talk to? Who do you have? Like in that Native American, you know, analogy or example, right? They had a whole tribe of people who were willing to listen and take on that burden with you. But I mean, not just people who have served, but you and I, regular people. Like, who do we have to go to? Like, if you're lucky, you have your wife. If you're lucky, you have a good enough relationship with your brother, your siblings. But what if you don't? What if you don't have that and you've been through something? It just kind of stays in. I think that is almost like that's like a poison almost. It's like that event happens to you and like that's like an injection into you and it just kind of sits. I don't know, it's just hard. I don't even fully know what to say about that, other than if you've been through something like that and it's just been in your head, go and talk to somebody. You know, I've put my email out there, and I've done it on different platforms, and I've had people who have just contacted me, not even for coaching, but they're just like, I just want someone to listen to this story of what happened to me. And it's in complete confidence with me. Like I don't talk about it unless the client tells me that I can talk about it. And they just tell me like a thing that they went through. And I just kind of am there for it. I'm just like, okay. And they can just, it's like something happens, exactly what he said. Like they share it and then they just feel better. Like I don't do anything. It's like sometimes there's actionable advice that I'll give, but sometimes it's just like, is that all you wanted to do? And like some people are like, that's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to say that to somebody. I've had people who are like, I haven't said that to anybody and I've been holding it for 40 years, 30 years. Like, and it's just like, what do we do, man? Like there's something, and I want to say there's something seriously wrong with society, but at the same time, there are lines that you can call and you can talk to somebody. Like there are helplines, right? You know, suicide line. Like there's all sorts of help that you can get. But at the same time, it's like it shouldn't be somebody who's through a phone that you'll never see and you don't know. We should, as like communities and families, set up that line of communication so that person can do it with people that they love and be supported by those people and take on that burden. That cup analogy was perfect. It's like, you know, you don't pour it all onto one person. It's like multiple, and everybody shares in it, and everybody can grieve that with you and also stand up and walk on and bring you on that walk on forward. And honestly, I don't know how to make that happen. I'm not here to say that, but it's just really powerful example and really powerful story that he'd been through. And you can tell by the way he brought it up that he's dealt with it. Like he has really spoken about it and it really did help him in sharing it and talking about it. Because like someone like, say, Tim Kennedy, he talks about in Jocko's podcast, he talks about doing the kind of that same thing where he threw a grenade into a room and some children got hurt and some innocent women got hurt and just civilians in general, but like some really small kids. And he even says while he was recording his book that he had to take like 15 breaks because he just kept breaking up about it, you know? And I don't want to say that he hasn't dealt with it, but it's like, it kind of shows that he hasn't gotten to share that enough. Like maybe now he's good, and he's definitely not a guy that has PTSD, but it's just like, you got to be able to share the things you went through. So again, who do you have? I want to tell people to just like set up a circle of friends where we just share what we've been through. Like you should do that if you can, you know? But yeah, that's it for the Mike Glover episodes. I'm out. Peace.